I'm Ronnie Fogelman. I'm president and founder of Ledrock Consulting.
Hi, and I'm Jody Ashley. I'm the Director of Client Services.
And we are very excited to have you join us once again for our next interview in our new series, From Their Perspective. We're going to be able to bring you some CEOs, some vice presidents, some directors and managers. We're going to talk to people in operations and in sales and in business development.
And today we're really excited to have Bob Werdan with us. Bob is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Presbyterian Homes. So welcome, Bob.
Thank you.
Well, Bob, it is our pleasure to have you with us today and to bring your years of experience in our industry to all of our listeners. So one of the things we thought about a little bit is that we've all had such a tumultuous year. I mean, we've gone through an unbelievable election. We're dealing with a pandemic and all of this on top of everything else that our operators are dealing with. We wondered if you might go back a little bit, maybe before the pandemic, and talk to us a little bit about what you've seen as the greatest changes that have occurred in the last 5 years.
Sure. Well, obviously the internet brings a whole level of education to our clients. So, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people would come to us to be educated on our products. Now they come to us with a pretty good working knowledge of what it is that we provide. So, we're more in the differentiation business and the consulting, the social work business, helping people through the decision, almost more so than we are, in the business of educating people on the basics of life plan communities or retirement living for that matter. A lot of change over the last 15, 20 years, I think has been around the idea of assisted living needs to start looking more like independent living used to look. And independent living needs to really mirror exactly what people are looking for as they move out of their homes and their condos. And I think we're getting close, but I feel like, there's reluctance to move to assisted living. The accommodations are typically fairly small. And I just think there's a real opportunity there to kind of expand on that concept of giving older adults the same options they would have if they were looking for those options in the community at large. So,
interesting that you said that, because that takes me right to my next question, which is one of the things that we've been experiencing is in many of the communities. We're in 13 states, so in many of those various communities, we're hearing a lot of discussion about the villages or communities that are doing care at home and trying to keep people in their homes as long as they can. So I'm wondering what you think the future is going to be for independent living or assisted living.
Well, I think about, as a baby boomer, I just turned 62 this year. I think about my friends and relatives and how many of them are really set up in retirement to be able to afford some of the options that are available. So when you talk about, the village concept, the Beacon Hill original concept of, let's gather as a village and take care of each other. I think it's a phenomenal opportunity for those people who may not be able to afford continuing care life plan or even, high-end rental communities. I think it serves a tremendous need. We support it. We sponsor our local village because those are people, especially the volunteers who are helping, those are younger seniors who may be candidates for our communities at some point in the future. Ultimately, people may need assisted living or nursing care that may or may not be covered, Medicare and private insurance. But I feel like that's the right approach. And in contrast, I think continuing care communities need to understand that baby boomers have changed the face of everything they've touched. And they're changing the face of senior living. And I believe what that means for continuing care for life plan communities is that our communities need to provide more choice. Don't just talk about, we have all these great programs and we have now an unbundled meal program and we have community dollars you can spend. You don't have to have 1 meal a day or 2 meals a day or any of that stuff from the past. I think they're going to want real choice, which could involve an entirely different financial model for organizations like ours.
I was just going to say, Bob, can you, what other choices do you think? I'm right behind you or ahead of you with the age. So what do you think that we're going to be looking for? What choices?
Well, Presbyterian Homes has considered the option of introducing rental in some of our communities. Everything that's being built, it seems, especially by the for-profit sector, is rental with assisted living and maybe memory support. And they stay away from skilled nursing. Skilled nursing reimbursements aren't what they used to be. I think to compete, we have to provide less expensive entrance fee options or no entrance fee options. There are communities, the folks that built a couple of communities in our area, the Erickson organization, really had a continuing care but non-life plan concept. I mean, their concept was charge an entrance fee, charge a monthly service fee, provide the full continuum, but people really paid as they went through the program. None of their entrance fee dollars really went towards reducing the cost of nursing care. It was a pay-as-you-go, but the entrance fee model allowed them to reduce the monthly service fees on some nice, sized units, making it 100% refundable. We're all offering, 0, 50, and 90% refunds. Those are all versions of you're not going to give me my money back.
Yeah.
So, so there are other options out there. There's cooperatives. We compete with a cooperative in our market where people are buying shares of their kind of condo, and they're benefiting in the appreciation when they sell it. There's some downsides, but for people in America where home ownership has been kind of a cornerstone of life, right. Offering some level of true ownership is a tremendous option for many people.
We have a client in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
That has that model and has had that model for several years, where they buy shares into. Yeah. And you're right, there's really, really good things about that, and then there's some real downsides to it. As you get into the plan, you see what happens. So I think people are trying many different venues, trying to figure this all out. And we're all in that baby boomer world, so we know what we want. And baby boomers are going to be very, very clear about what they want. It's forcing the operations of our industry to reevaluate everything. So when this, I think it's going to happen very quickly over the next few years. When it does, what kind of an impact is that going to have on the business development and the sales and marketing that we're used to doing in our industry?
Well, I think we're talking to a different audience. They're going to be much more savvy. They're going to understand our business much more than they ever have in the past. They're going to understand it from, some very technical ways, actuarial. I mean, we talk about actuaries right now and people kind of gloss over. They don't really understand and appreciate the whole process there. But I think going forward, people are going to be really smart. This unfortunate year that we've had with COVID really puts a whole nother light on senior living. At this point, we have to market a renewed interest in living congregately. Early on, unfortunately, life plan communities, even probably independent living retirement communities, were lumped in with nursing homes. And as you know, that's what hit the news back, in March of 2000. Right. So, the idea of moving into a community that's congregate, that has nursing, it seemed like not a very good idea. We need to now remarket these communities, honestly, as the safest places on the planet. We've inoculated 96% of our residents and 85% of our staff at every campus.
That's great.
Good.
the community at large will never get to that level. That herd immunity, they'll be lucky if the people in the community at large get to 70%.
Mhm.
So literally, people on our communities right now are doing things that folks in the community at large shouldn't be doing, hopefully aren't doing. So I think we need to address that. I think, when you have a year of the media talking about, congregate living and how, the nursing home deaths have outpaced the community at large, we have a big job to do as an industry. And I think we need to look at our associations like Leading Age. So many organizations have, or industries have, industry organizations that pool money and advertise. I mean, the milk producers industry, and, there's a lot of money there that helps to educate people generically kind of on the concept. And I think it's time for our association to do more kind of active marketing and promotions on behalf of all their constituents around the country.
Just think about the value that we could have if everybody pulled together like that, and they were able to really pool all the resources and be able to just educate the community. It's one of the things that we're finding with the CCRCs and the care at home is people don't understand.
Right.
It's very challenging for them to grasp all of the different pieces of the puzzle. So that's a great idea if we could pull that all together and use that to influence the community.
Even market by market, there are leaders in the Chicago market that are operating multi-site, continuing care life plan communities. And we came very close a few years ago to pooling some amount of our budgeted marketing dollars so that we could just, publish promotional materials and purchase airtime and newspaper and media and digital time to talk about the benefits of a continuum of care. It's something we all need to do. I don't know of any other industry that survives on 5% penetration. It's insane.
Right. And it's been that way for years.
I mean, if cellular phones only penetrated 5% of the market, if you saw somebody with a cellular phone, you pull them over and go, "Oh, can I look at that? That's really cool." Well, you can buy one too. No, it's not for me. It's insane, so we have a long way to go.
Yes, we do.
Bob, years ago, we used to refer to nursing homes as old age homes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's going to be a change in the word senior living?
Yeah, the only time that Presbyterian Homes uses the word senior or senior living is purely for the benefit of SEO. We put it into our pay-per-click programs, and we have it on our website. It's the only time we use the word nursing home. Times have changed, but it takes decades sometimes. I mean, if you look at a map of Chicago, there's a community here in Chicago called the Admiral on the Lake. It was built in the mid 1800s. And until recently, if you looked at a printed map, it was called the Chicago Elderly and Infirmed Home for the Ages. It was just horrible. It was every possible word you put together,
Awful word.
I don't know, today's 80-year-old is not yesterday's 80-year-old. And being 62, I started when I was 28 years old. I was like their grandchildren. Now I'm their peer.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think of myself as a senior. Maybe when you start to need support, you're less independent, you really start to feel your age. Maybe then you don't mind being referred to as a senior. We use the term older adults. So, we just talk about older adults.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
I've long held that, we don't need to be as explicit in our marketing. When you show pictures of older adults in lifestyle and you talk about the benefits of a community, don't underestimate the intelligence of your customer. They figured it out. You don't have to define yourself so narrowly.
Yeah.
So,
So when I think about that, and I know that your area of expertise is the sales and marketing and has been for years. So what kind of advice would you give to a new salesperson coming into our industry?
Salespeople have a tendency to gravitate towards sales, I think, because they like to talk, and we don't generally have long attention spans. I think we are probably the place where an awful lot of kind of ADHD people from the past that were never, we can focus for a certain amount of time when we're in front of a prospect. I think resisting the urge to talk certainly has been my challenge all my life. There's a famous quote by Gandhi that says, when you are talking, you're sharing information that you know. When you're listening, you're learning. And our job is to learn about the customer. When you combine the fact that they're coming to us more educated, we need, I didn't understand until maybe 10 years ago how I could talk 20% of the time and the customer talks 80% of the time. You have to be, my advice would be, try to be as inquisitive, try to be as naturally curious about your customer as you can possibly be. People love to talk about themselves, and we need to learn about our customers. So there's plenty of time to talk about all the different contract options and the benefits and the amenities. You've got to ask questions. You've got to talk less.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful advice. It's one of the greatest challenges that we find when we do sales training for companies is when I get to the questioning part, when we've worked through the introduction and now we know why we're there. And now it's time to ask questions. And it's very difficult for salespeople, many salespeople to really, they'll ask a question, they don't know where to go from there. So it's just practicing asking those questions. That's wonderful advice, Bob.
And I've never believed that our industry was able to overcome objections. We're not in the business of this is not an arm, we're not arm wrestling with our clients. We're consulting with them. Right. And probably 10 years ago, we hired a training consultant who taught me more than I had known in the last 30 years. And I've been trained by Marriott and Classic Residence by Hyatt and others. He taught us to understand that every word your customer uses has a meaning, and it isn't necessarily the meaning you assume it is. And to make assumptions means that you are on a parallel but different path than your client is. So when your client says, I'm not really ready for this, your job is not to say, what do you mean you're not ready for comfortable surroundings and the security? That's just a challenge, like you're throwing down the gauntlet. You need to say now, when you say you're not ready, what do you mean by that?
Right. Yeah.
Because people will tell you things every once in a while that are just completely different than what you assumed it was. Mm-hmm. Plus, it keeps them talking and it gets them to explore why it is that they're not ready. It's a put off. It's the number one objection in our industry. Stop trying to overcome it and try to understand it.
Mm-hmm. Excellent advice.
Well done.
So I want to go a little bit more personal now, if I may.
Sure.
I know that at least I do think back a lot to advice people gave me over the years, things I've learned from people. So I'm wondering if you might share with us, what is the best professional advice you've ever received?
Stop talking after you've made the sale.
My husband says that.
That was advice I got from a former CEO of Presbyterian Homes. This man was as far from sales as you could be. He was the most amazing operational mind. But I had an idea and I wanted to run it by him and I needed his approval to pursue it. And apparently I was effective early on, and about 3/4 of the way through the conversation, Peter said, Bob, it's time for you to stop talking. You've made the sale, because, and from a non-salesperson's perspective, to say that is really remarkable when I've studied sales and I didn't know better at the time.
Yeah, and that just probably alerted you to where else you may have been doing that.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So,
Well, Bob, we really appreciate your time. We appreciate your expertise and the information that you're sharing with our listeners. So I want to thank you. I wish you well. Hopefully when we're out there in Chicagoland, we'll
Yes.
get to run into you and see you when we're there. But please be well and be safe.
thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you so much. And we hope all of our viewers will check out our website and our Facebook and LinkedIn to see who's coming next and where you can review this interview with Bob. So thank you all so much. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.